As you could probably tell just by looking at me, I'm a longtime fan of the Coen brothers. So when it was announced that they would be taking a break from their partnership and pursuing individual projects, I was curious. Would it be something completely different? Would it be more of the same? Would they take a chance the other one didn't want as a team? I just saw Honey Don't, the second film from Ethan Coen with co-writer, co-producer, and wife Trisha Cook, and I think I can answer a lot of questions I had as we break down this movie. So it was announced that Ethan and Joel Coen would be taking a break from one another during COVID, and since then we had three narrative films between the two of them. What's interesting is that it was supposedly Ethan who wanted to slow down, yet he outpaces his brother two movies to Joel's one. Joel's film was The Tragedy of Macbeth, the classic Shakespeare play with Denzel Washington and wife Frances McDermott in the lead roles. As far as Ethan, he directed Drive-Away Dolls and now Honey Don't, both starring Margaret Qualley in what is supposed to be a lesbian B-movie trilogy. The other thing to know is that beyond being married to Ethan and what they have described as a very non-traditional marriage, Trisha Cook is a queer woman and brings a lot of that experience into both of these films. To me, it's really about an opportunity to do something you see more often in music over movies, which is seeing the parts of an individual effort and comparing it to the group, and to be able to reconstruct it through it. When the Beatles broke up, it was easier to assign certain things about Beatles songs based off of musical tendencies you could trace to a Paul solo album, or a turn of phrase that shows up with a John in a later song. The same is pretty clear now between Joel Coen and Ethan Coen, and what they each contribute to the collective Coen brothers. It's an interesting time for me to think about the relationships of brothers since I'm a few days away from visiting my brother and finally meeting my first nephew. I've honestly thought about what it might be like to write and direct with my brother since he's very creative, but as people, we are very different personalities. There are enough things about our shared sensibilities that I'm sure would allow us to get through a story and script without problem, but I can already see a demarcation of responsibilities based off of each of our own individual skills. Like my brother is in charge of anything paperwork or business or deadlines, or because clearly I released videos late 2 weeks in a row and he is really good at creating structure. In this way, I feel like my brother is Joel and I am the Ethan. But if we had been doing films together for as long as they have, we would probably appreciate a break from one another as well. When it comes to Honey Don't, I was left feeling like the concept was half baked in many ways. The concept of a lesbian B movie trilogy is fine, but this movie doesn't play like a B movie, nor does it play as a noir, which the story would point towards. I would honestly place the feel cinematically as a slightly elevated indie, with the cinematography far more competent than that of a B movie, but far below the expectations you have when another Coen brother is on set. Likewise, the story just feels thin and filled with characters who feel like they shouldn't be in the same world. For instance, Chris Evans plays Reverend Drew, who is the scammy type of preacher and uses the church as a front for criminal activity. One of his henchmen is Shuggy, played by Josh Pavchek, who feels so awkward in the story. It feels like it was borrowed from something else. And no shame in the performance, but it feels like he should be in a movie that is like Point Break meets Slapshot over this one. The idea of the preacher character itself is weird because it doesn't seem to want to speak on anything other than the fact that the church is an unassuming place for crime like this. The structure of the enterprise is not explained very well, and it's fair to say that you don't need all the details to make it work narratively. But why even involve religion in the story if it's not going to be utilized? Like, the movie isn't saying much about the church specifically outside of it being the opposite of what it stands for. But when you have a televangelist style preacher, you don't need to explain it straight from the message. On the other side, if you have a more straight laced congregation and over the movie things are revealed that could work to expose the church, it could create more drama and more intrigue following our lead, Honey O'Donohue. Speaking of following and Honey O'Donohue, the tale of her story could be following what's put in front of her. That's not uncommon for a private investigator in a noir, but there is usually more ambition in the character to try and solve the case instead of falling into more evidence by continuously happening upon it. Another example is Marty, the homicide detective, played by Charlie Day. It's like it was decided early on that having a clueless police detective who keeps trying to hit on Honey despite her being a lesbian is funny. And that's all we need. Like, check the box. We have that character. What's frustrating is that Charlie Day is funny in this bit, and I enjoy it every time he does it. But he could be doing so much more. It's like we have 15 characters who were all previously in 15 different scripts and trying to tie them all together in this one. What's really frustrating is that it is well written in the dialogue, and it has the same fun, witty repartee that you expect with a Coen Brothers film. But there is something missing, a substance, a style, a worldview. Compare this to Tragedy of Macbeth, which was all vibe, all substance, and no light. Granted, Macbeth is an adaptation of a not traditionally hilarious Shakespeare play, but it feels like you could fit the contributions of the brothers after watching these two movies. It's a crude example, but one that works perfectly for duos. It's like sports announcers with Joel and Ethan. Joel is a classic play-by-play man. He dictates the tone, he sets the energy, he explains in plain English what is happening on the field so that people at home understand. Ethan is the color commentator. His goal is to bring the action to life, to provide insights, to provide comedy. If you had a booth with just a play-by-play man, it will be dry, but you will understand what is happening. And if you had only color, it would be fun but hard to follow. But when the two combine, you have the perfect viewing experience. Drama when you need drama, comedy when you need comedy, yin and yang, a balance in all things. That being said, I'm not forcing them into a room and making them get along. If they feel like they need to try this, I am willing to support them because they have been one of the most consistent and important filmmaking entities in my lifetime, and they deserve to do what they want with theirs. But the point here, the goal of rating movies and telling you about what I think is not because I love to nitpick and tear things down. I direct, and I know how hard it is, and how you hear criticism and you think it's off base, but you have no way to refute it because the audience determines what the movie is about over time. I also want to tell you about a 9 out of 10 every single week on this channel. I want great movies to be coming out so often, the leaderboard is under constant assault. The Coens have shown the ability of delivering 9 out of 10s. They might be capable of the greatest movie ever, but unfortunately a singular Coen is not at that bar. Again, it's a desire to defer to them because they deserve that, and at the same time, I want theaters littered with the best we have, and Honey Don't is not the best we have. Which brings me to the acting, which is the weirdest part to talk about because I really like the cast, and I know what they are all capable of, but they don't hit the mark in this movie. Everyone looks like they are off balance. I don't know if it's the largely southern accents on a movie set in Bakersfield, the characters feeling thrown in from a different story, or something else entirely. Margaret Qualley is one of my favorite stars to watch, but she never looks comfortable, even when playing a character brimming with confidence. She has magnetism, she has the chops, but it's like you changed the key without telling her right before she was about to sing. There are many sex scenes in this movie with beautiful nude people that have the sex appeal of moving your car once a week because of street sweeping. Take Chris Evans, incredible performer, great actor, totally able to pull off a character that is turned up to 11. Like, my thought is that as soon as I know Chris Evans is in the movie, I'm getting together with him and I'm talking about how we can tweak it and to lean into his strengths. The fourth lead of NCIS New Mexico is not the Reverend, it's Chris Evans. He can do more than this. He doesn't have to go all Lucas Lee from Scott Pilgrim, but you can dial up that character another 20%, right? I mean, you have a European sports car, we can do more than just a grocery run, right? Everywhere is just so disjointed. Aubrey Plaza is great for a bit, and then at the ending, she doesn't have enough to pull from to make it land. Gabby Beans had great chemistry with Margaret Qualley, but there was nothing there for her character to expand upon. Justinier was a great energy, but he's playing small. You get the scene with his abuela, and he's really trying, but the alchemy is off. Despite all this, one actor and one character works. Lara Abova was alluring, was jumping off the screen, played a character with no detail, with a breadth that was unwritten in the script. Her character was like a ghost, and she worked great. Is that the weird church on the outskirts of town, or is it the Leaderboard? I think there is a version of this movie that is incredible. There were times when I was watching, thinking about actors getting the script and going through it and loving it. This film has a lot of redeeming qualities about it. The big problem is that it just isn't working. It's not a rocket ship. You can't lab test a movie. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I can't put my finger on any overarching reason why it doesn't work, but there are so many little things that would all need to be fixed if this movie was ever to be a hit. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it a 6.3 out of 10. It's a world of balance and jeopardy. The dialogue really works, but the story isn't there. You have great actors who are trying and characters too thin to support them. You have the most beautiful B-movie cinematography and one of the most generic for something that has the Coen name on it. I feel like there is something with this movie. Like, you could get one of the grips drunk and they will quietly tell you all the reasons it didn't work. Maybe they only planned for 20 days and now they are in an insane rush. Maybe they were only doing one take and not telling anyone. Perhaps the pressure to be at 90 minutes made them rush everywhere and the confidence was shot. Whatever it is, I want Ethan and Joel to do what they want. It's not about us, the movie-going audience. But, hey, isn't it cool that Oasis is back? That sounds like fun, right? Brothers working together and being creative. I'm just thinking about brothers for some reason. Maybe it's my upcoming trip. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you watching this far in the video. Apparently there are buttons for like liking and subscribing and commenting. All those things are appreciated. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Today is gonna be the day that we're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you got to do.